The development of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds emerged as a bold response to the stagnation in the kart racing genre, with Sonic Team taking the helm to inject multiversal dimensions into the franchise, inspired by years of experimentation in dimensional travel mechanics in the main Sonic games. Led by Takashi Iizuka, the team prioritized an approach that merges arcade chaos with practical innovations, such as the traverse rings, which transform tracks in real time, transporting competitors to alternate worlds full of unpredictable obstacles. An idea that evolved from initial concepts tested in internal prototypes to differentiate the title from competitors like Mario Kart. This conceptual vision, discussed in interviews, reflects a Sega strategy to revitalize the racing series, incorporating arcade elements that hark back to the company's roots, but adapted for a global audience eager for depth beyond the superficial. The collaboration with veterans from the initial D-Arcade stage team was a masterstroke in the creation process, bringing expertise in realistic driving simulations that smoothed out the game's controls, making drifts and accelerations intuitive without sacrificing the frenetic essence of Sonic. Producer Taki Ryuichi and creative director Kohayakawa Masaru highlighted how this partnership, forged in decades of refinement in street racing games, allowed them to balance accessibility with technical precision, avoiding the pitfalls of previous Sega titles that lacked responsiveness. This unusual fusion between the fast-paced world of Sonic and the refined mechanics of Initial D was not mere whimsy, but a calculated decision to elevate the gameplay to a level where vehicle customizations, with more than 70,000 possible combinations, directly impact the racing strategy, tested exhaustively in prototyping phases to ensure balance. At the heart of the development, Sonic Team faced the challenge of integrating cross-play and robust online multiplayer from the start, anticipating the launch on multiple platforms, including the upcoming Switch 2, with optimizations that exploit more powerful hardware for textures and seamless effects. Interviews reveal that Iizuka emphasized the smooth transition between console generations with transferable saves and unified matchmaking, a priority that shaped closed network iterations and open tests, such as the one from August to September 2025, to refine stability under real player load. This emphasis on connectivity reflects a lesson learned from past failures in Sega Online games, transforming CrossWorlds into a social hub where rivalries emerge organically through dynamic dialogues between characters. The development path also incorporated an innovative gadget system with more than 70 options that alter mechanics such as turbocharging or item accumulation, a feature that was born from creative brainstorms to empower players with personalized styles, avoiding the monotony of standardized builds. The plot unfolds in a chaotic setting where dimensions intersect unexpectedly. A mysterious energy, known as Nexus, has begun to distort reality, merging worlds and characters from different Sega franchises. It's not a race for a trophy or glory, but a desperate attempt to restore order. The tension is palpable, as failure means not only losing a race, but the dissolution of their own realities. The story begins with Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles in their routine until a dimensional portal opens, sucking them into a new and dangerous environment. They come across Dr. Eggman, who for a change is trying to take advantage of the chaos, using the Nexus energy to strengthen his robots. However, the real threat is not Eggman. The source of the Nexus energy is a cosmic being called Chronos, an entity that feeds on time and space and, for some reason, has been awakened and is consuming all the dimensions it can reach. It's a race against time, literally, to find Chronos and neutralize the threat before all worlds are erased from existence. The story begins with Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles in their routine until a dimensional portal opens, sucking them into a new and dangerous environment. They come across Dr. Eggman, who, for a change, is trying to take advantage of the chaos, using the Nexus energy to strengthen his robots. However, the real threat is not Eggman. The source of the Nexus energy is a cosmic being called Chronos, an entity that feeds on time and space and, for some reason, has been awakened and is consuming all the dimensions it can reach. It's a race against time, literally, to find Chronos and neutralize the threat before all worlds are erased from existence. My perception of the plot is that it stands out for its boldness in mixing universes in a meaningful way, not just as superficial fan service. The story treats the union of dimensions as a real threat, giving weight to each race. The goal is not just to be the first to cross the finish line, but to use the very act of racing to stabilize dimensional anomalies and weaken Chronos, Each track is a fragment of a world on the brink of collapse, and the races represent the characters' struggle to keep these fragments together. It's an approach that gives a greater purpose to the gameplay. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds deviates from the traditional villain wants to dominate the world script. The story doesn't just present a race with characters from other franchises, but uses the racing format as the main means of action. The narrative focuses on survival and the restoration of reality. The tension over dimensional instability, the mystery behind Chronos, and the interactions between the characters make the plot denser and more engaging. It's not just a race. It's a rescue mission on a cosmic scale, where what's at stake is the very existence of their worlds. The main differentiator of CrossWorlds gameplay is the team racing system. Unlike other games in the genre where victory is individual, here the performance of your team is what really matters. The central mechanic is sharing items and boosts with your teammates. For example, a player can pick up an item and, instead of using it immediately, pass it to a teammate who is further ahead and in a better tactical position. This constant exchange of resources creates a layer of strategy, as communication and synchrony become more valuable than simply having the best racing line. The game encourages cooperation to overcome obstacles and not pure individual talent. In addition to item sharing, there's the ultimate system. When the team performs actions such as risky maneuvers, perfect drifts, or passes items to teammates, a special energy bar is charged. When this bar is full, all team members can activate a massive boost that makes them temporarily invincible and at maximum speed. The decision of when to activate this ultimate is crucial. Using it to overtake an opponent on the last lap, to avoid a dangerous obstacle, or to recover from a mistake can change the course of the race. This team power creates moments of high tension and surprising turns, which are not just about having a good car, but about having a good collective strategy. Another notable aspect is the variation of the tracks, which are more than just scenarios. They are dynamic and full of elements that require team interaction. There are shortcuts that can only be opened by 2 or 3 players shooting at specific targets at the same time. There are also obstacles that one team member needs to deactivate so that the others can pass. The tracks are designed to force cooperation, making it impossible to win consistently without communicating and planning with your teammates, whether in online mode or with friends. The design of each circuit reinforces the idea that teamwork is the heart of the experience. My impression of the gameplay is that it seeks a new approach to the kart racing genre. It doesn't focus only on the ability to drift or memorize shortcuts, but on the ability to think strategically together. The focus on cooperation can be a change of pace for those who are used to more individually focused games. But when the mechanics connect, the experience becomes quite rewarding. The feeling of making a coordinated play with the team, whether to open a shortcut or to use the ultimate in sync, is particularly satisfying. CrossWorlds gameplay is shaped around collaboration. The team racing mechanic transforms individual competition into a team race, where victory is achieved through synergy and planning. The importance of sharing items, the tactical use of the ultimate, and the design of the tracks which require cooperation are the pillars that give this title its own identity. It's not about being the best driver, but about being the best team. When I look at the graphics of CrossWorlds, the first thing that comes to mind is the saturation of the colors. It's a vibrant palette that seems to jump off the screen, something already expected for a game with Sonic's aesthetic. The art direction, however, goes beyond the obvious. The scenarios are not only colorful, but have a wealth of details that tell the story of each universe mixed by the Nexus. You can see the technological ruins of a futuristic world merging with the lush trees of a mystical forest. This blend of visual styles in a cohesive way is the most relevant point. The fluidity of the animation is another notable feature. Speed is a fundamental element in any Sonic game, and the graphics need to keep up with that. The feeling of high speed is transmitted with visual effects such as motion blur and particles that fly at high speed, but in a way that does not impair the view of the track. Each character has specific animations that reflect their personality, even during the race. The way Sonic leans into the curves, Vice's serious posture, or Goro's agility. It's a care that gives life to the characters, without being limited to just a 3D model. The game also makes interesting use of lighting to give depth to the environments. The reflections on the wet track, the sunlight that passes through the treetops, or the glow effects of the special abilities create an atmosphere that is more than just a colorful screen. At times, the lighting changes rapidly, reflecting the chaotic nature of the Nexus, as if the sun were being replaced by a moon in seconds. This dynamism in light and shadow contributes to the immersion in the narrative, showing that the world is constantly changing. My personal impression of the game's visuals is that it does not seek hyper-realism. It does not aim to simulate reality, but rather to create its own attractive style that fits with the theme of the game. The visual art serves the purpose of the narrative impeccably, and the way the elements of different universes are unified is done with mastery. It's not a graphic that will surprise you for being technically superior to others, but for its artistic beauty and the cohesion of the world it creates. The game's visuals are a celebration of the aesthetics of its universes. It uses saturated colors, fluid animations, and intelligent lighting to build a visual experience that is both functional for the gameplay and immersive for the story. The strong point is in the way it unites distinct visual styles on a single screen, creating its own identity. The graphic is more than just beautiful. It is an essential part of the game and its narrative. Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is one of those titles that generate a genuine dilemma for those who have followed the franchise for years. Considering the inconsistent history of Sonic racing games, where Team Sonic Racing was decent but not revolutionary, there is a natural tension between the enthusiasm for the promised innovative mechanics and the caution of those who have been burned by problematic releases. The question is not simply, is it worth it, but whether you are willing to bet on Sega's ability to deliver a polished experience from day one, especially considering that this is a title that clearly aims to set a new standard for the series. The early adopter factor here carries special weight because CrossWorlds promises to be fundamentally different from its predecessors, with its traverse ring system creating a completely new racing dynamic. If the mechanics really work as promised, being present from launch means participating in the collective discovery of the best strategies and gadget combinations, something that can be lost when entering the game late. On the other hand, complex systems such as the customization with 70-plus gadgets and multiple racing zones are fertile ground for bugs and balancing issues that only appear with thousands of hours of gameplay from the community. The question of price versus content becomes particularly relevant when we consider that this is not just another kart racer, but an ambitious celebration of the entire Sega universe. With characters ranging from Sonic to Kasuga Ichiban and Hatsune Miku, the perceived value varies drastically depending on how much you value this diversity of franchises. For dedicated Sega fans, buying at launch is almost a vote of confidence in the company's creative direction. For casual players, waiting for detailed reviews and possible patches may be more sensible, especially if the focus is only on traditional Sonic races. What genuinely worries me is the long-term sustainability of the promised innovative mechanics. Traverse rings and dynamic terrain changes sound incredible on paper, but can easily become chaotic or unbalanced in practice. Games that rely on complex mechanics to differentiate themselves often suffer from patches that fix the fun in the name of competitive balancing. Buying at launch means accepting that you may be experiencing the most pure and potentially more fun version of the game, before adjustments based on telemetry data smooth out the edges that make CrossWorlds special. The perspective of the online community is also crucial here. Arcade racing games live and die by the longevity of their player base, and CrossWorlds was clearly designed with competitiveness and replay value in mind. Entering at launch ensures that you will be part of the formation of the first metagames and dominant strategies, as well as having access to the most diverse pool of opponents before the community stratifies by skill levels. Waiting a few months may mean finding an already established and potentially intimidating player base for newcomers. My honest recommendation is that CrossWorlds is worth buying at launch only if you are genuinely passionate about the Sega universe and have the patience to deal with possible initial problems. If you are just looking for a solid and polished kart racing experience, waiting 6 months will allow patches to fix technical issues and detailed reviews to reveal whether the innovative mechanics really add value or are just unnecessary complexity. For me, the revolutionary potential of the traverse ring system and the courageous celebration of the Sega legacy make the risk worthwhile. But it's a risk that not every player should take on their own pocket.
the best.